Today on the Roofing News, we're gonna talk about tariffs. Trump is already in office. Obviously, everybody knows and talks about tariffs. Some of them are already in place. How could tariffs impact the construction industry, and what can you do to prepare? If you like what we're doing, give us a like down below and comment your feedback. If you have news to share, send it to Sydney@roofinginsights.com. Now let's get to the story.
Rules and regulations.
Trump is back in office and he's already making big changes. The president said he plans to put 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico by February 1st. Depending on when you watch this video, they might already be in effect. This all comes as contractors are worried about the cost of materials. The price of asphalt roofing products has gone up 46% since 2020. On top of that, you have just a couple of big names who dominate the suppliers market and sets prices. Experts say the tariffs could increase costs. On the other side, Trump says tariffs will help the economy, and that includes the construction industry. So, what should contractors be prepared for?
This video was made possible by Raindrop Gutter Guards. You've probably heard us talk about Raindrop before, and for good reason. These gutter guards are designed like no other. They're made of ultra-smooth plastic and sit at the perfect angle. So all those leaves and debris, they slide right off. In the winter months, the guard's dark color stays warm in the sun, stopping ice in its tracks. No buildup, no clogs. Just set it and forget it. Plus, Raindrop has a hail warranty, so you know these things are built to handle whatever gets thrown at them, literally. It's a high-performance, low-maintenance gutter system. No matter the weather, Raindrop has you covered. Hit the link in the description and grab yours today.
To find out, we called an expert. Dr. Basu is the chief economist at Associated Builders and Contractors. We started with everyone's biggest question: how much will prices go up? Does a 25% tariff mean a 25% increase?
Look, it's economics. It's never that direct, right? Tariffs, like any tax, and tariffs are just a tax, are shared between various economic actors, whether it's the supplier or the consumer. It's shared. So no, I don't think a 25% tariff would increase prices by 25%, but prices would be increased meaningfully. And here's why. People say, well, wait a second, but the tariffs only apply to imported goods, not to American-produced items. And we produce asphalt shingles and we produce other inputs. We produce some window frames and so on and so forth, even if we import many of them as well. And so maybe this doesn't really make much of a difference. I mean, that would be what some people would claim. I don't think that's the case because we live in a free market environment. Our business operators are profit maximizers. Nothing wrong with that. That's at the heart and soul of enterprise, of capitalism. And so if I'm competing against imported products as a domestic producer, let's say of asphalt shingles or whatever it happens to be, and their price goes up because of these tariffs, let's call them 25%, just for argument's sake, then what is my incentive? My incentive is to raise my prices to the extent that imported prices have gone up because I remain competitive. So I, as a domestic producer, will also raise my prices even though I'm not paying the tariffs because I can, because that's the profit maximizing economic act. And so prices will rise across the board. Now, we can debate, depending on elasticity of these goods, whether or not the prices go up 15% or 10% or 20%, whatever it happens to be, but it's going to be meaningful.
Prices could go up, but Dr. Basu said the government could offset costs by cutting red tape and training more skilled workers. If you like the sound of that, then my next guest has some good news. Dwayne works for NRCA in Washington, D.C. They are helping fund workforce development grants.
We advocate with members of Congress on Capitol Hill to increase funding. And I think over the past 5 years, the funding has increased about $160 million out of a total of about $1.4 billion for these grants.
Another issue they're working on this year is tax cuts, but advocacy isn't the only option. Dwayne shared these tips to prepare for price increases.
Number one, if you have a certain product that you're worried that there might be tariffs or or in fact, if when it does happen, you need to look for possible alternative suppliers. Is there someplace else you can get this at? And then another key thing is escalation clauses in contracts. One of the things we saw, given the supply chain crisis that we had, a few years ago, 2021, 2022, in particular, escalation clauses in contracts are very important. So the contractor doesn't get, stuck with the price increase on the material coming in, but then not able to raise prices on their customers when that's necessary. Another real critical aspect, which I think has been overlooked to some extent, is you can apply for exemptions to tariffs to the federal government. The Department of Commerce and also the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative have processes in place for exemptions. In particular, if there is no other alternative supply for a certain product that may be imported that may become subject to a tariff, you can get exemptions for that tariff.
Now, we have talked about the short term, but what about the long-term effects of tariffs? Well, there could be some benefits. Dr. Basu says more manufacturers could move to US, but they will need support.
I think you're going to see more opportunities for entrepreneurs to manufacture inputs and outputs, whether to construction or other industries. Yes. And there's a benefit to that. But again, we need the industrial workforce of the 21st century. We don't have that right now. We just have not trained ourselves for these kinds of emerging jobs. We need to think about our zoning, because many communities are not zoned for industrial development. They've been zoned for residential. They've been zoned for, light industrial and commercial, but not for heavy industrial. So there's some things that we need to do as a nation and as communities to make this work. But I think one of the reasons the 21st century could be another American century is because more manufacturing comes home. But we've got to do this right.
I have a personal question to all my subscribers. What do you think about tariffs? I know it's a controversial topic and a lot of roofers are struggling with the price increases. Are you able to increase prices every time manufacturer increase them? Because these days we're getting, for the past couple of years, 4 or 5 price increases per year. I personally know roofers who have not had price increase in their business for the past 10 years. They literally charge the same as they used to charge years ago. If that's you, you're probably in trouble. But even those who do constantly increase their prices still struggle to adapt. Not all of them, but I'm curious where my audience fall into that spectrum. Do you increase prices every time manufacturer increase price? How do you deal with the competition? How do you deal with the lower bidders? How do you deal with the competition who is not increasing prices and you already have cost increased? Where's the money coming from, I guess? Comment below what you think about tariffs, what you think about price increases. Where are you at on the topic? I read all of my comments and I'm probably going to respond to most of them. Comment away and I'll see you guys in the next video.